Kevin, I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. You're just like, as far, like, to me, right now, all I'm hearing is sporty, sporty, sports, sports, sporty, sporty, sports, 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 sport. Okay. Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. More on them in just a bit. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. As always, I'm your host, Simon. Welcome, welcome. What goes on here? Someone writes me a script. In this case, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. More things Americans find normal that others find totally bizarre. We've been here before, haven't we, Kevin? I think we've even been here before with Danny. Yeah, well, the honest truth is, and I've said this before, look, when a video does really well and everyone watches it and new people discover Brain Blaze, hello, I just make the same video again and I stick yet even more in front of it, or like part 17, because I'm a capitalist and creatively bankrupt. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
I need the thing. I have a little foot pedal that makes my teleprompter go because I can't come up with good ideas myself, so I have to hire people to write things for me. And edit things for me. I got it. It was in the other room, but through the magic of editing, it looked like I didn't even leave the desk. Wow! Unless Sam did the squishy farty feet thing. In which case, whatever.
You're goddamn right.
When I was going to college in Miami, welcome to Miami. Miami. Is that Will Smith? I think it is, right? What a song. When I was going to college in Miami, I wound up sharing an apartment with a guy from New York. More specifically, he was from the Bronx, having grown up about a block from Yankee Stadium. All of this means nothing to me. Yankee Stadium, huh? I'd know it was in the Northeast because that's where Yankees are from, right? Kevin's a Yankee. I think he's from Massachusetts, if I remember correctly. Being a Boston native, Boston, Massachusetts. Big brain. Native myself, this should have made us natural enemies, but we got along surprisingly well. We were both night owls, so we'd frequently stay up watching baseball and talking one another's home city. He would also buy himself a 12-pack of beer every night. Holy shit. And in the unlikely event he did finish them, it was my job to drink the rest, because he'd be pissed at himself if he woke up to discover that he'd failed to polish off all of his beers. That man is now a lawyer. It's not even a joke, it's in the script, he is. As a friend of mine, we go camping, like me and some mates sometimes, and we went camping. It was like the middle of winter. There was like a meter of snow on the ground. It was horrible, and I no longer go camping in the winter with the guys because I just hated it. I'm just like, this is miserable. Why are we out here? It's cold and it sucks. And one of the guys is from, he's actually from Vermont's in the Northeast, right? He's from Vermont, and apparently it's like fucking cold up there all the time, and he's like, yes, it's great. And I'm like, bro, it's like -7. Why are we outside? Why? Anyway, another guy was there, and he's just like, we're all sitting down, we built like a big campfire, we're drinking some beers, and he's like, I recently discovered that I can drink 12 beers.
Go crazy! Go stupid!
And these are like not American-sized little beers. These are like half-liter beers, like the proper-sized beers, you know, like not American. This is about a pint, but a little bit more than an American pint and a little bit less than a British pint. And he just polishes off like 12 beers, falls asleep in a ditch in the snow without his sleeping bag zipped up. And we're like, dudes, weren't you cold in the night? He's like, yeah, it's really cold. And I'm like, why didn't you zip up your sleeping bag? I was too drunk to figure out how to zip up the sleeping bag. It was like, there was a meter of snow. I don't know how he survived. I'm surprised that story didn't end with us all being like talked to by the police because our friend died. And they'd be like, did you not notice? And be like, no, he seemed fine. Though Danny may not be as generous with his homemade toilet wine as my old roommate was, we have also been staying up discussing the differences between our home countries while marking our days in basement captivity on the wall with chalk. There's a meme on this channel that they live in my basement together, which is ironic because I am technically in the basement. I have like a basement. It's like a semi-basement, so like the windows are like up there. Just in case you're new here, I'd explain some of the lore. You're welcome. I don't really have anyone trapped in my basement in Interpol. Just letting you know. Or do I? No, I don't. I'm not like that. Oh, who's that prick? Oh, the guy who's all over the internet like 3 months ago and then got banned and was like accused of like human trafficking and shit. The balls guy. What's his fucking name? Guy's such a douche. Oh, maybe it's better I don't remember his name because then you don't look him up. Anyway, didn't he have people trapped in his basement or something? Allegedly. There was this whole thing, like, didn't the FBI go, no, he lives abroad, doesn't he? There was some whole thing about him, like, having someone locked up or some shit. It's like, what the fuck? Like, for real? Oh, I just remembered his name. But I think it's better that I don't say it.
Say it.
I can't really say I've been talking trash about Rotherham because it's hard to make fun of a place that nobody's ever heard of. Kevin, Rotherham's a big deal. In the UK. We're all like, oh yeah, Rotherham famous for, nothing. Our discussions have resulted in us discovering at least 4 videos worth of things about America that the rest of the world finds completely insane. It was in reminiscing to Danny about my days back in Miami. Kevin, I know that I'm bulking out the introduction, but we're 6 minutes in. I don't want to have to bring out that cat o' nine tails again because I'm worried that you're going to get an infection from the last beating if I reopen the wounds, you know. And I'm running out of antibiotics. Greek life. I just skipped the rest of Kevin's introduction. We had to make room for my stories, Kevin. This show is like partly just, you know, me telling stories. And I want to tell my stories. And I know they're sometimes boring, but I'm the boss.
You have a poison in your mind, and the fact that you can't see it makes me so sad.
I would have never expected this to happen growing up, but my first semester of college, I wound up joining a fraternity. It was a music fraternity, so it's not like I was any less of a nerd, but it was a fraternity nonetheless. Throughout the years, I had seen many a comedy movie about the wacky hijinks that took place in fraternities, like in Animal House or Revenge of the Nerds. I've not seen either of those movies, but I feel like I've seen plenty of American college movies. And they're always like, wow, college looks awesome. And then we have university. And it's like, university was great, but we don't have like fraternities and shit. And I'm like, that looked pretty cool, to be honest. That's not to say that colleges in other countries don't have clubs that they refer to as fraternities and sororities. They do exist outside of America, and some of them are even Greek letter organizations. Really? I've never heard, at least not in the UK. However, the traditional idea of the American fraternity doesn't really exist. The clubs abroad aren't normally segregated by gender or race. Really? They're segregated by race? What's this fraternity? Oh, it's just for white people. I don't think you can say that. It's like, what's this fraternity? Oh, it's, let's just say you wouldn't be welcome here. Oh my God, really, America?
That's racist!
And they don't normally have the same sort of pledge process, hazing, and ridiculous initiation rules that Americans have come to expect. There are some exceptions, but it's mainly for the more douchey and elitist clubs, and since Simon is probably confused that these could be segregated by race, yes, there are things like historically black or historically Jewish fraternities in America, which, I mean, the problem is, if we all want it to be equal, right, which I think is like a great way for society to go in general, what if you were like, no, my fraternity's historically white? Like, I think a non-Jew should be able to join the historically Jewish society, and someone who isn't black should be able to join a historically black fraternity. Shouldn't that be allowed? It'd be a bit weird, because I find, like, anything where it's not meritocracy, I really struggle with. Like, I don't find myself like being super woke or anything. I just find it a bit stupid that we segregate or like we decide on things when people can't, like, when it's something people can't control, like their race or their gender or stuff like that. I'm just like, are they good at or not? If someone's like stupid and rubbish, I'm happily going to be like, no, you can't be at this university or in this club because you're stupid and rubbish.
Oh no, they're stupid to us.
But I don't know, I just feel like it's like I just want the best person for the job. Just doesn't work better like that. The answer is yes, by the way, it does. It's not a debate. I don't believe there are any fraternities that explicitly bill themselves as historically white. Me and Kevin are on the same page today. Although there was a Kappa 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 fraternity in New Hampshire, and there is still a Tri Kappa sorority in Indiana. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Kevin, I need more explanations than this. I'm British. I don't understand your Greek American lingo. There are a lot of reasons that American-style fraternities aren't common around the world in most other parts of the world. People often don't live on campus at their universities. We typically do in our first year. Like, we live on campus on the first year, like in, oh my God, what's it called? I've forgotten. Halls of residence. You live in like a hall of residence, and then maybe like I lived out in my second year, and then I moved back in my third year because I like people cooking my food for me. It was awesome. Like you just go, there'd be breakfast and stuff, and you didn't have to eat it. You could go eat out, or like there was a little kitchen, so if you wanted to cook yourself. But if you wanted it, there was a 3 square meals a day. If you wanted it, you could just go and have it, which was great. I miss that. I should move my family into a hotel. Be great.
You gotta move on. You gotta move on.
Where do you live? Hotels. Just don't want to do myself because I'm it's not that I'm lazy. I'm busy. But it'd be great. Like breakfast every day. Love that. In most other parts of the world, people don't often live on campus at their universities. People usually live in their own apartments off campus. One of the appeals of Greek life is that the members get to live in the fraternity or sorority houses, which are generally much larger and nicer living spaces than the tiny dorm rooms. At least for a lot of people I know, that's a selling point. I had an apartment on campus, and I can't imagine the hell that would be living with 40 other guys, none of whom gave a shit about cleaning because someone else would do it. Then again, that's what pledges are for. This is such a strange system. Another big factor is that in the rest of the world, people can already legally drink by the time they go to college. Oh yeah, of course. We can just go to the pub. I was going to the pub like we were 18 in the last year of school. Like for a short bit, it'd be like 6 months. For some people, it was longer because it depends on I'm born in May. So I only had like a few months of drinking, although we'd just go to the pub and they'd serve us because I don't know why. My school was in a village. No one gave a shit. If one pub stopped serving us, we'd just go to there were 2 pubs. We'd just go to the other pub. I think there was a third pub that we never went to because I think it was a bit rough. But we'd just go to the other pub and they'd serve us. It was weird. I guess it was just taken less seriously back in the day. 15 years ago. How old am I? 15 years ago? I'm 35. No, so 17 years ago. God, it seems like a lot longer than that sometimes. It seems like a whole other world away. Now I'm like middle age. I describe myself as middle age and someone was like, whoa, steady on. Who was my age as well.
I am 3,000 years old. I am stronger than all of you combined.
American movies about college always feature keggers at the frat house full of underage drinking out of red soda cups, possibly ending with the party being busted up by the cops. None of this makes sense if you live somewhere where everybody can just drink beers with their friends at a bar. Yeah, it's like, of course. What should we do? Well, let's go to the pub. And you'd go to the pub and it'd be great. Drink some cheap beer, get based. It's hard to find sources that aren't anecdotal or opinion-based. From what I can find, the organizations in Europe that most closely resemble American fraternities tend to be far-right clubs bordering on Nazism. What? They do? I've never heard of this. Beyond these groups, the entire idea of an American fraternity seems to be largely viewed by the rest of the world as silly and pathetic. I mean, now as an adult, yes, but as a student, I was like, wait, why can't we live in a big house together? That sounds awesome.
We've been waiting for you all summer, and we're so glad you're finally here.
Oh, hell no!
Yeah, but now I'm old. I'm like, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? It's just a bit immature. But when I was immature, I was like, that sounds great. It's okay to be immature. You're like 20, 18. How old are you in America? I think you go a year later. That's like 19, 20, 21, 22. Don't know. Actually, that's weird. To be fair, that's not an entirely uncommon opinion in America either. Regardless, and much to my surprise, joining my fraternity remains one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I was 17. Holy shit. Okay, maybe you go a year to college earlier than us, America. Maybe I got it the wrong way around. I was always like, we're such big brains. Go to a year before the Americans. And no, turns out it's a year after. Small-brained British people. Classic. Living alone in a scary new state where packs of wild Florida man roamed in the streets looking to anonymously make headlines. What else was I to do? I'm sure there were lots of possible answers, but that's not important. Besides, some cool opportunities came from it as well. Because we were a music fraternity in an exceptionally patriotic America, we frequently sang the national anthem for our school's baseball games. And once, even at the football team's homecoming game, which brings us on to our next topic, college sports. Oh my god, this is so wild. I feel like we did a Business Blaze before. When it was called Business Blaze. Obviously this channel's now called Brain Blaze. And it was about like college football or something. And it's like, they don't get paid. They don't get paid. And they're making a fucking fortune for the university. And like all these advertisers are sponsoring them and stuff. And it's like, oh, you're just not getting paid. So why are you doing it? Oh, in the odds that you'll make it pro. And it's like, I don't know what percentage make it pro. But it's not that many. Like my cousin's American. And he was, he's a giant dude. He's like, when you picture like a football player, this is this guy. He's like a giant man. And he played like football at college or something on some scholarship. And yeah, he didn't get paid or anything like that. And he didn't turn pro. And now he just like lives a regular life. And I'm like, but you were like playing in these games and shit. And you just, there's no like giant check for like making all this money for the universities. Nah, you just gotta hope that you turn pro. And that's that, which is mental. And I'm sure that Kevin's about to talk from it from a position of far more knowledge than me. There are collegiate sports clubs across the world, but nothing compares to the NCAA and American college sports, particularly football and basketball. While other countries wouldn't care about a non-professional sports match, that football game we sang the national anthem for at a crowd of 68,000 people packed into Miami's Orange Bowl. This is absolutely nuts. Like, university sport is like, I don't know. The only thing I can think that's televised is the boat race. Like the, oh God, what's that place called where it happens? British people are all screaming at the thing right now. It's super famous. Oh God. But like, that's the only thing I can think of that is televised. Like football, tennis, nobody gives a shit. You're at university to learn and you do sports on the side. No one's hoping. If you've gone to university, I don't think there's anyone there who's thinking like, yes, this is where I will break out into my tennis career. It's like, no, you're just playing for fun or against other universities. You're not going to turn pro. If you were going to turn pro, you wouldn't have gone to university. You'd already be playing in like the US Open and shit, wouldn't you? Guys, have you heard of Squarespace? Look, of course you've heard of Squarespace. They are a loyal, ongoing sponsor of Brainblaze, and we love them for that. I love it. Support our, loyal, regular sponsors. Squarespace keep coming back, and that's because you guys keep getting Squarespace websites, and you know why that is? You know why that is? Because there is nowhere else you should go for a website in 2023 is around the corner. And guess what? In 2023, Squarespace is still going to be the place to go if you want to build a website. I don't know what you want to do a website for. Look, I run YouTube channels. That's what I do. That's my thing. I still have a website that I built with Squarespace. It lists them all. There's even a page on there that compiles all of my latest videos. So when a new video is released, it automatically goes onto that page on my Squarespace website, and it's just at the top. And that is just one small part of my glorious Squarespace website. And look, I don't know what you want a website for. You want to do a blog? You want to annoy people with your political opinions? Yes, do that. Or I don't know, maybe you want to set up a shop and you sell in the fanciest of widgets. Squarespace also do that. They enable e-commerce, that sort of stuff. And how does it work on Squarespace? Well, you just go over there, you choose a template. I mean, you could design it yourself if you really want to, if you're like skilled in design and stuff. I am not. I chose one of their templates to swap out the images, swap out the text. But that contact form on there, list of my channels, beautiful photo of myself. You're like, boom, done. It's very, very easy. Plus lots of extra features, member areas, email campaigns, collect donations, analytics, blogging tools, connect social media accounts. That feels, blogging tools, that's like basic stuff, right? But obviously analytics, donations, email campaigns. Oh my God, email campaigns. I was paying for another unnamed service before Squarespace. Not that I really do emails like campaigns. I should, but I used to pay for it even though I wasn't using it. It was hundreds of dollars a month just to maintain this email list that I didn't use. And now Squarespace included. Boom. So when you're ready to get started with Squarespace, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain at squarespace.com/blaze. Thank you, Squarespace. Now back to today's video. College sports in America aren't just fun intramural matches. They are a billion-dollar industry. College football games are televised nationwide and consistently pull in impressive numbers that are completely inexplicable to the rest of the world. And if you're a fan of CBS's original programming, okay, you can kiss the entire month of March goodbye. The entire month is dedicated to March Madness, which for some reason I've heard of. The NCAA college basketball tournament features 68 teams vying for the championship in a single elimination bracket. I know I've heard of March Madness. I listen to too many American podcasts. I don't know what I like. I feel like maybe I listen to like one or two British podcasts. Everything else is American. And whenever they talk about sports, there's like March Madness and stuff. And I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Get back to non-sports talk. But yeah, that's why I've heard of March Madness, I guess. Why 68 teams instead of the 64 that would make it an even 4 round brackets? Because shut up, that's why, Kevin, I have no idea what you're talking about. Universities offer massive scholarships to student athletes, and there are over 500,000 NCAA athletes. Oh yeah, well my cousin, I guess he did, I don't really know, I guess he didn't have to pay for university, college, but still. 68,000 people, like whatever, coming to watch you play sports, you should be getting paid more than free room and board and tuition at university, right? Because like, I know that's expensive, but it's not that expensive. Not all of them are on scholarships, but there's so much money going around that Lori Loughlin could get her daughter a college scholarship for a sport that she didn't even compete with without anyone noticing. Is this the woman who tried to like pretend that her daughter was running in the Olympics or some shit, and she wasn't, and she went to like fucking prison? Oh, America. It's like this, that is the most American story ever. It's like nepotism combines with like corruption. Not that America is like all nepotism and corruption, and I come from the UK, like there's plenty of nepotism, but it is like, it did feel like, and then she got busted, and it's like, what are you up to? You got caught. How did you not expect this to happen? There's another, your daughter's at rowing. She's never been in a boat. Allegedly. I don't know the whole story. Maybe she didn't go to prison. Maybe it was someone else. I don't know. I'm just speculating, in my opinion, allegedly.
Great job.
There's another aspect of this that those outside the US might not even be aware of, but only makes the whole situation even stranger. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that college sports in America were a billion-dollar industry. However, aside from free tuition, players aren't allowed to share in any of the money that they're generating for their schools or the NCAA. They compete for their schools on national television, bringing in huge ad revenue, and they even appear in video games by EA Sports, but until very recently, they were explicitly forbidden from seeing a penny of that money, which is insanity. Only California thus far has enacted a policy to see the student athletes compensated, so we'll have to see how that plays out. My cousin's probably he's from California. He's probably quite disappointed at that, because this was years ago, and now they changed that, don't they?
A great opportunity squandered? Absolutely. A crushing blow? Yes. Will I get over it? No.
If it wasn't hard enough for those not raised in America to understand the obsession with college sports, it becomes even stranger when you think of the quality of the games. Professional football is regarded as the sport with the most parity. A team could fail to make the playoffs one year and then compete in the Super Bowl the next year. In fact, that's happened at least 15 times already. College football, on the other hand, is a clown fiesta. Granted, it's full of exciting big plays like kickoffs, run back, 90-yard touchdown. Well, Kevin, I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. You're just like, as far, like, to me, right now, all I'm hearing is sporty, sporty, sports, sports, sporty, sporty, sports, 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 sport. Okay. And that's because the team is powerless to stop them. It's not uncommon for a game to have a final score of 69-0. 69-0, would you say that, Americans? It's how it's said in British. Because teams are so brutally mismatched. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I really have no idea. I'm not even playing it up.
I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry.
What's a goalie?
The fellow with the big Mickey Mouse hands in by the net.
Depending on where in the US you live, it extends beyond just college sports as well. There are a few stray games during the week, so TV networks can make more money, particularly on Monday and Thursday. The weekend is mostly segregated. What are you talking about? Professional football on Sunday, college football is on Saturday, and high school football is on Friday. You have televised high school football? Sports at university, I already described to you. Sports in high school, it's like no one gives a shit. Like no one, the only people who show up to a game at high school are the parents of the people who are playing. My parents were probably really glad that I hated sport, because then they didn't have to go and watch me play. Like, we'd have school on Saturday mornings, and then afternoon was sports matches. So if you were in a sports team or whatever, you'd play against some other team who traveled down on a minibus, and they'd play against you. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, I'm so glad that at 1 o'clock on a Saturday I get to go home and spend my afternoon farting around and playing video games, rather than freezing my ass off playing rugby in the fucking snow on a Saturday afternoon against a bunch of pricks from another school. Just be like, oh my God. Yeah. I remember one time. It was like, I felt like this was the beginning of participation trophies. And they were like, okay, we're going to make sure that everyone has a position on a team. And I'm like, oh God, there goes my Saturday afternoon. Must have been like 14. And they were like, okay, so we're going to have like an A team, a B team, a C team, and a D team. This is excessive. And so who, like, can you imagine? It's like me playing against another version of me who's been shipped in on a minibus from some other school somewhere, and they've come in to play us, and it's like, bro, do you give a shit? Like, no, I don't give a shit. And I remember just Saturday, and I wasn't on the team. I was the sub for the B team, for the D team. I was like the worst of the worst. And it, like, I'm pretty sure if I made an effort, because I'm not a non-athletic person, like I can run, fairly coordinated. I just don't care. I just did not want to do it. And so I'd just be like, I'm just not going to try. I'm just not going to make an effort. And with sports, it's like, they can see you not making an effort. But unlike something like maths, it's rather hard to be like, well, we can see it in your grades. So they just have to be like, okay, Simon, you're just going to sit on the bench for the D team. And I was like, great, it's where I want to be. And I'll be talking to my like equivalent from some other school somewhere about how he also doesn't want to be there on a Saturday afternoon and how he just can't wait to go home and it's cold. And that they very quickly stopped doing because they realized they were just torturing us and it was inhumane. Fascinating tangent, Simon. Let's carry on. I am wondering if there's ever been an episode of Brain Blaze where it's been quite as much Simon chat and quite so little actual content. I'm so sorry.
It's too late to take back what you've said. You're on the list.
We're at like 25 minutes and we're probably not even like halfway through, to be honest. I'm not sure why you're still here, to be honest. Just it's okay. You can leave. I won't blame you if you want to click off and, I don't know, watch something from one of my other channels, or I don't know, what else do people watch? Tom Scott videos? Legal. I often see those like people that watch these other channels. Cool. I met Tom Scott once at a VidCon. He's a really nice guy. He's just as nice as he is in the videos. Which is like, you meet someone, you meet people and they're like, sometimes they're not always like they are in their videos or whatever. And Tom Scott is. He's a nice guy. If you live in Texas, all the three of those are equally important. What? Oh, the different sports. Maybe people in America are just happier living out their failed dreams of professional athleticism through their children than those in the rest of the world. Of course, if you partake in contact sports such as football, there's a good chance you could wind up in the hospital. And it's important that if you ever do see a doctor, you go prepared with your own research. Ask your doctor about, do you suffer from restless leg syndrome? According to angry people in YouTube comments, yes you do, Simon, and it makes your microphone bounce in a distracting fashion. Again, we're going to go on a little tangent.
No!
I do suffer from restless leg syndrome, but it's not the shaking of the leg. I do the shaking of the leg and the microphone bounces. I change my stand so it bounces less, but I'm going to shake my leg and you're going to live with it. Restless leg syndrome is different. That's where like you go to bed and your legs they don't feel tired like the rest of your body, and it sucks. I take I don't know if it works, but I was like, I'm just going to take some ibuprofen and see if that helps. And it helped one time. And so now when I get the restless legs, I take ibuprofen, and it's probably a placebo effect. And I don't want you to tell me otherwise in the comments. If I read a comment saying, like, Simon, that is placebo effect, then it's going to ruin the placebo effect for me, and I'm going to be really angry. So I'm not going to read the comments on this video because I don't want to know. And if someone hits me up on Twitter, I'm going to block your ass. Okay, let's move on. We don't want to be here all day, although apparently you do.
Yes! What's wrong with people?
So why not ask your doctor about Lyrica? Okay. After all, Pfizer spent $216 million advertising Lyrica in 2017 alone, so you should really help them make some of the money back. Lyrica, or pregabalin, is prescribed for a variety of different things, but restless leg syndrome is indeed one of them. Jesus, I feel like now I should go ask my doctor about Lyrica because it would be nice to have something to make my legs less restless. It's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, I have it. Is it enough to go to the doctor about? No. And doctors are free. Like, I'm already paying, like, my well, I say like health insurance, but then Americans will think it's like something optional. The government, there's like two ways they do it in Europe. They have like fully state, where it's just like a state system, and the other one is like mandatory insurance. In Czech Republic, they have the mandatory insurance thing. Yeah, so it's free, like you have to pay it. But it's still not enough of an issue to like travel to my doctor and be like, my legs are restless. And he'll be like, what the man? Do you not have like a real disease? Why are you wasting my time? That's how I imagine like doctors deal with patients where it's like, I know they don't because they're doctors. But that's how I kind of imagine it, and I feel bad for wasting their time, because there's people, there's probably some guy having a stroke in the waiting room, and I'm just like, my legs sometimes are a bit restless when I go to bed. And I just think, like, that's not important, Simon. Jesus. Of course, companies are required by law to list the side effects of the medications in their TV commercials, so I should mention that side effects of Lyrica include constipation, itching, joint pain, memory loss, double vision, decreased lung function, suicidal thoughts, or heart failure. That's the stuff they rush through at the end of the advert, isn't it? Might also include constipation, itching, joint pain, memory loss, double vision, increased lung function, suicidal thoughts, or heart failure. I could do that, right? I'm like, blah, blah,
Go crazy. Go stupid. Go crazy.
But isn't that a small price to pay to have your legs stop shaking while you're sitting at your desk? That is not what restless leg syndrome is, unless I'm mistaken. Honestly, or maybe they're both related. Maybe this is a symptom of restless, but this doesn't bother me at all. It bothers people when I'm sitting in the cinema. My wife will be like, stop shaking your leg. And it reminds me, because when I was a kid, I'd go to the cinema with my family, but dad would be like, stop shaking your leg. I don't think if that's restless leg syndrome, okay, I'll read the comments, let me know. But that doesn't bother me at all. Like, that's not an issue. But like the restless legs when I'm trying to sleep, it's like once a month, maybe once every 2 months. That bothers the out of me. Honestly, I've always found these ads to be a bit weird. The idea that companies could advertise prescription drugs never really made sense to me, but it was part of my everyday life, so I never really questioned it either. It was not until the age of the internet that I learned that not only does the rest of the world find these advertisements bizarre, but they're straight up illegal in every country in the world, except for America and New Zealand. New Zealand, what are you up to? It is weird when you go to America and you're like sitting somewhere, I don't know, where there's TVs, because there's TVs everywhere. You just be sitting at breakfast in like a hotel, and you just be watching like American news. And it's like, now over to you, Peter, with the weather. And they'll be like, to like an old man, an old woman running on a beach. And it'll be like, ask your doctor about and you'll be like, what is this even advertising? And you don't know. And then they'll read off all the symptoms and it'll be like 5 minutes.
Lyrica may cause serious allergic reactions or suicidal thoughts or actions. Tell your doctor right away if you have these, new or worsening depression, or unusual changes in mood or behavior.
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit!
All of this stuff. And I'm like, why am I being advertised drugs? My doctor should be deciding what drugs I'm on. Right? Like, I don't know. I can't make that decision. Like, I'm on, like, cholesterol drugs because I went to the doctor and like, I had my medical and they're like, we're going to have to do something about that cholesterol. And my doctor's trying me on all these different drugs, trying to find one that works. And it's like, I don't want to go to him and ask him about, like, I don't even know what the drugs are called because I just take the pills that he gives me. And then he tests my blood and he's like, they're working or they're not working. So far, they're not working very well. And, yeah, I don't know. That's why he went to medical school. So he can decide what drugs to give me. You know, didn't go to medical school, me. So why would I make that decision? And that makes total sense. Why should I be asking my doctor to prescribe me specific medications? Shouldn't I trust the opinion of someone who did the 4 years of medical school plus like 7 years of residency? Rather, medical school's 6 years, isn't it? It is in the UK. Maybe that's why, because they've only done 4 years of medical school, so the other 2 years, they didn't cover the bit about prescribing drugs, so they have to rely on Pfizer to advertise that to patients, and then the patients go and ask for the drugs, and the doctors are probably like, yeah, I mean, that sounds good. Tell me more about that advert. What does it treat? That's a joke. Don't ask your drug. Just go and ask what drugs you should be on. Jesus. Or residency rather than trusting a commercial that was paid for by $1 billion drug company to promote a medication for a condition I might not even know I have. I want to believe that deep down my American brethren understand that this is really messed up and have also just chosen to accept it as part of our reality. The one positive thing about these commercials is that a lot of the time they're really funny thanks to those potential side effects, no matter how minor a condition the medication is intended to treat. Without fail, every commercial will list death as a side effect. There are some sillier sounding side effects such as blue urine, increased gambling. What?
The fuck?
I mean, I guess like if you're on like an antidepressant and it's gone a bit too far, you're like, hey, there are no consequences to life. And vanishing fingerprints. That's useful if you're a criminal. But it's also worth noting that Lyrica is a controlled substance. It's not technically a narcotic, but it can produce narcotic-like feelings of euphoria and is often prescribed as a milder alternative to opioids or benzos. Yo, I don't want to be put on opioids to treat my restless legs or benzos. Like, he's like Jordan Peterson. He seems to like, didn't he have some like benzo thing and now he's lost his mind? Like, I don't know, I read his book like a few years ago and I was like, okay, it's a bit religious-y, but I get it, Jordan, I get it. And now it seems like he's like off his rocker, mate. Like, what are you up to? Like, I guess I just hear like sound bites pulled and stuff, but it's like, oh, what happened to you? And was it he was in a coma from like benzos or some shit like that, allegedly? I don't know, I don't really follow like the Jordan Peterson lore. But look, I don't want to go on opioids because I know those are bad. I don't want to go on benzos because I've heard of Jordan Peterson. And my restless eggs are not that bad. I don't need that.
Go crazy.
Even with advertisements for medication being legal, it's surprising that controlled substances aren't somehow exempt from this. Yeah, we definitely have adverts for drugs, but it's like for ibuprofen and shit, like stuff you can buy in the petrol station. Fortunately, this means there's a silver lining. Should cannabis finally be knocked down to a Schedule 5 drug like Lyrica instead of being a Schedule 1 drug like heroin. Wait, cannabis is Schedule 1? That's like a Class A drug. That's f***ing mad. We could finally get the drug advertisements we deserve. Feeling anxious or depressed? Talk to your doctor today about rolling some fat motherfucking blunts. I like that that's in the script. Side effects may include coughing, dry red eyes, increase in appetite, fascination with introductory philosophy, short-term memory loss, and death. Yeah, baby.
Fuck yeah!
How's it going? I scoured through the Brain Blaze backlogs because I'm shocked this hasn't come up yet. But unless there's a video I missed, I don't believe it has. One of the most jarring things to people not from America is how goddamn friendly we are to strangers. This friendliness is often seen as fake or superficial, which isn't completely inaccurate, but it's something people usually aren't prepared for. If you're walking down the street and make eye contact with someone, it's generally expected that you'll smile at them, or at least give them a polite nod. This is unusual to the rest of the world, where people generally have the good sense to keep to themselves and not address strangers without good reason. I don't know, like, British people, we're quite cordial. Like, I always forget this. Like, I went back to the UK after COVID, so I hadn't been there for like 2 years. And I go visit my parents, and we're walking into the little town they live in, just like ambling along the street. There's this little path by the river that goes into the city. And the people are like, morning. I'm just like, why are we talking to each other? Because I live in Czech Republic, no one greets anyone. You don't, if you make eye contact, you're like, sorry. Like, I will be walking in the forest. Like, I love going out into the nature, like taking a little walk. And someone will walk by. First person to see in an hour. Just walk straight past each other. Might be like, morning. Morning. Oh, all right. Yeah, morning, all right. Yeah. Fascinating tangent, Simon. Let's carry on. It can be especially disconcerting to women visiting America, as in many places a stranger would only smile at you as a means to initiate flirting rather than something we do to everyone all the time. Yeah, I wouldn't just randomly smile at people like, hello. Oh, that'd be weird. Don't do that. Or expect it if you go to America.
Hey, fuck you! Listen, real Americans.
This stranger may even come up to you and strike up a conversation depending on how much of a hurry they're in. How common this is depends on what part of the country you're in. In major cities, and especially in the northeast, people are often too busy running around being self-involved to strike up a friendly conversation. In suburban and rural areas, and especially in the south, be prepared for someone you've never met before to be willing to randomly talk to you for 20 or 30 minutes. I'll be like, bro, TikTok, I got places to be. Like the northeast. These conversations can happen absolutely anywhere, and they always strike when you least expect it. I was in the checkout at a Best Buy once, and the cashier told me, "You look really familiar. Have you been to France?" I had not, but because this is America, I was then forced to engage her in long conversation, even though all I wanted to do was take home my stack of CDRs. Jesus, Kevin, when is this story happening? The medieval period? And definitely did not burn pirated software onto them. What? No, no one would ever do that. But of all the overt friendliness to strangers, none is more bizarre to those outside the US than our typical greeting of either, how's it going? Or how are you? While most people would reserve such a question strictly for their friends, here in America, it's just a standard greeting that you'll get from anyone. It's common for cashiers, waiters, fellow elevator passengers, or anyone else you're in proximity with for more than a few seconds to ask you how you're doing.
Hey, how you doing?
But do we actually care? No, of course not. The most standard, and in fact expected answer is, good. And you? At least 9 times out of 10, this is a response you can expect. However, for anyone from another country who's thinking of visiting America, there is a quick translation guide in case you adopt the how's it going greeting to try and fit in. Common responses are, I'm okay, which means it's been a pretty day. I'm great means I'm okay. I'm fantastic either means it's been a slightly above average day, or the person is sick of answering the question and is trying to throw people off with an unexpected response. You know, living the dream. I hate my life, but I'm doing my best to stay positive about things. Yeah, this is, how's it going? Living the dream, baby. Living the dream. Does it look like I'm on a boat right now? I'm in the elevator at work. It's not No. Beyond that, if someone actually tries to tell you how you're doing, you should probably just run away. It's hard to say exactly why we're like this. It's just our form of being polite. But why it manifested in such a way as to confuse the rest of the world is unclear. Maybe it stems from our unbridled optimism, the truly American belief that literally anyone can go from being penniless on the street to being a billionaire. Or maybe we're just so friendly and open with strangers because of the overwhelming joy we feel for being privileged enough to live in the greatest country the world has ever seen. Steady on, Kevin. Greatest country the world has ever seen. Let me tell you about the British Empire. Just joking. Look, all countries have their problems. Like the British Empire. At least according to our textbooks that we want, and we just want to share the joy with those around us. Just remember, all of these overly familiar greetings, smiles on the street, and extended conversations with strangers are just our way of being polite. Americans aren't actually nicer than people in most other countries. According to dozens of different studies and surveys, we don't even make the top 10. So, while a tourist may find themselves in a conversation with a stranger and think they just made a new best friend, in reality, that person probably wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Which is why it feels so inauthentic. Like, to someone who's not American, because if I chat to someone for 20 to 30 minutes, I'm like, cool, no, I've genuinely made a friend. Whereas in America, just like, no, it's just a polite waste of time, which is so strange. Why? That's the end of the episode. Thanks for watching. I met Tom Scott once at a VidCon. He's a really nice guy. He's just as nice as he is in the videos. Which is like, you meet someone, you meet people and they're like, sometimes they're not always like they are in their videos or whatever. And Tom Scott is. He's a nice guy.